And then I had already seen Herby made a very interesting comment about driving a car or riding a motorcycle. He wrote chopper. And he writes, I get a possibly irrational fear when riding a motorcycle. I can no longer drive faster than 50 or 60 km/h. I ride a chopper, not a racing machine. I've never been a speeder and never had an accident or anything like that. I still try to drive as often as possible to overcome this threshold. I am afraid of fainting. At the moment, I am making an effort to understand fear in order to overcome it. Currently unsuccessful, but I'd never give up, as I don't let my mind say it's impossible anymore. In my opinion, it is a highly thrilling approach to have the opportunity to experience it here initially, because it demonstrates once again that we as human beings can start in very individual ways with a variety of life histories to develop certain symptoms, but then again, we strongly overlap with the complaints of other people at many different points. Because how many of you are aware of this fear of possibly fainting immediately due to the sensation of your legs giving way? How many of you know the fears of expectations that, as with the comment just now, this fear lingers in the room? What if that happens? Topic automatic thoughts in the form of negative worst-case scenarios as well. I would include the subsequent details here. There is no irrational fear in that particular sense. This is a wrong approach that is often brought out from the medical field. You don't have to worry at all. Stay calm. What matters is not what can be observed from the outside, what seems to be a danger to your head in its own reality, but rather what happens behind your eyelids. So, what is visible and audible solely from you? And if we do not resolve this level of stress, then we will not discover a clear answer as to why your body reacts the way it does. In this situation, we should address two things here. So now I'm addressing you, dear Herby, but also anyone else experiencing a similar situation. And what I'm saying right now, in principle, anyone can try out for their own situation. First, watch the most significant video. Make an effort to understand that the contents are designed to resonate with your mental capacity, whether they actually exist out there, whether you have ever been kicked in your entire life. Is not a limiting factor for your brain not being able to offer you thoughts that put you under pressure and lead to an increased release of stress hormones. This is unrelated to the topic. That implies fears are not irrational. In your mind there is a thought of fear. It will have an impact if you leave it as it is. Then the next step would be required at this stage. It is of no importance which combination or level of content you come across. In relation to an evaluation that is tentative concerning the act of distancing. That's crazy, the problems I have there. That is irrational. Do you also notice that there is no desired change? Ultimately, our mind is always in control, and frequently we can work out a backstory, like maybe in another area of your life, more and more mental, thoughtful things are added to the idea of what if I were to collapse there, creating a sense of anticipation and uncertainty about the potential outcome of such a situation. And then, by chance, you have also been offered this thought by your brain while riding a motorcycle. And there it is particularly critical in traffic if you really fall off the moped there, due to the fact that the potential consequences could be severe. With that, we would have a comprehensible backstory, which we can then logically understand accordingly. It is evident that you somewhat laughed at it, contemplated it in a certain manner. The next step is that we now need to change something about it. We must consider the following. Similar to symptoms, where the evaluation of a phenomenon plays a formative role in whether the symptom really becomes a disturbing factor for us, it is also the case here that the evaluation, oh my God, if I fall off the motorcycle and drive fast, I will faint. That would be very bad. Yes, it is, no doubt, but it's about understanding that there's a dramatic evaluation where someone else would say, then it's over. What I wouldn't recommend thinking like that now, but he will come out of it with a different feeling later. The important thing is, we can say that you are doing something that you should stop doing. By experiencing negative thoughts, fears, you trigger yourself into a training state described as chronicity later on. And at a certain point, you are subsequently connected in such a tight data highway that you respond to the trigger with an immediate alarmist reaction without having any thoughts regarding it. That means you're doing things you shouldn't, causing your problem. And you, on the other hand, say it happens so quickly, I don't do anything, no time to react. Yes, and difficulties also arise because we still omit things that we should take care of and address. This means that we now see a very narrow data highway here with you on the topic of triggers, leading to an immediate alarmism, I call it for now. And what do you do when you're not on the bike? What do you do when you brush your teeth in the morning? What do you do for breakfast? If unsure, we're all extremely submissive, subjected to our brain, which shows us day in and day out only this situation in an increasingly critical and dramatic way. And at this moment, it is, of course, about this particular condition may not exist because you are engaging in an activity that you should cease, but it can still persist because you are neglecting something that could lead to a different outcome through your actions accordingly. The video that I would highly recommend to you for this purpose would be chronic conditions. Like I want to emphasize to you once again in this model, it would only constitute the second step in our approach, as we are currently training additional data highways on the correlation to motorcycle riding, regardless of the subject matter. By the way, you can locate the fundamental patterns in the video, utilizing affirmations accurately, also employing the example of quitting smoking. By the way, you can also begin smoking, but that is a different story. You should initially go for this model here. Overcome chronic conditions. What does the initial step indicate? It indicates that you should cease the maintenance of your horn instrument. What is in between for us? We possess a brain that consistently desires to process information, and our brain carries out this function particularly when we are not actively utilizing it ourselves. This is a recommendation from me. Write down as often as possible in problem situations because this takes away the brain's ability to continue the automatism. And what we can do now is to understand our brain immediately switches on when we're not using it and wants to process information. These are always the ones who have recently occupied and burdened me the most in case of doubt. And besides, you also have thoughts that chronify and perpetuate your current symptom condition, worsening its impact on you. At this moment, this is an extremely crucial point. Our objective is to disrupt and interrupt this mechanism of chronicization that is in place. How do we do that? Your brain basically goes there and can, as long as you let it, copy itself again in relation to this one thing that makes your life so difficult. You don't have your problem because it occurred in the past, but since it occurred in the past and your brain has had the chance to maintain itself in good condition regarding this particular matter frequently in the intervening period. Quite banal through the clumsy experience of the mental contents that correspond to each other. We want to disrupt, and if we want to disrupt maintenance, we must consider the following. Imagine there's a garden out there. Now the gardener won't maintain this garden. We don't trim, we just don't mow the lawn anymore, work more, we don't rake leaves. We will simply stay passive in the background for now. What happens next? Please provide more details. The garden becomes overgrown over time. We are passive, do nothing. Garden overgrown due to lack of maintenance. We would do the same on our own head. That means we choose to stay passive. We do nothing. We let the head run. He seems to know better after all. We follow our intuition or something in God's will. Then we would also observe that maintenance truly starts, because as long as our head has the opportunity, it desires to keep maintaining itself based on what the current state was in the last instance of observation. Our head wants to maintain the highest level of consistency, and therefore my recommendation to you is as follows. Ensure you always have something to keep yourself busy with, at least for a short period of time. Wherever you are able to swiftly divert your attention to effectively disrupt ongoing maintenance activities. Take it like acid on the skin. Acid on the skin is awful. When it's on, it's just on. The longer she is able to stay on it at this moment, the more it burns into her. That is the same in your mind and in mine. The longer a thought can linger, the more it imprints itself in. Therefore, my recommendation is to learn to look away in everyday life as the very first thing. Allow yourselves this. Take on topics. Prepare projects that you can engage in and play with almost effortless ease. Because every single second you remain in your thoughts, dealing with your problem, it ultimately leads back to the support of maintenance. Therefore, step number 1, disrupt maintenance. Does not feel good because we have to work against resistance, and especially because our mind wants to hold us very much in consistency, hence the resistance, and we are doing something that we are not used to at all. And then our head comes around the corner and says, well, I know this very well from myself. This feeling, you can't just neglect it now. And then I interrupt anyway, and nothing occurs, only good. Therefore, my recommendation: first learn to disrupt maintenance. Initially unsatisfactory because no direct productive gain for you. But he also comes through nothing else, otherwise you wouldn't be running with your symptoms after 4 years or 4 therapies and 100 sessions like the prior speaker. And a final recommendation I would like to give to the audience, and also to you at this specific point in time and juncture. This is this one. Why does the fear come so suddenly? Also a video, which probably fits very well to the situation of the viewer here, with riding a motorcycle on the highway. 1,000 flight hours and suddenly fear of flying. So, you can enter the title and take a look to see which one is meant. All the best for further motorcycle riding. Stay cautious. It is one of the most dangerous sports we have.